A bittersweet day in the upstate as family, friends, and brothers and sisters in blue say goodbye to Sgt Conley Jumper, a 28-year law enforcement veteran in Greenville County who lost his life in the line of duty on Tuesday.
An emotional moment as we heard Sheriff Hobart Lewis deliver his final call.
Tango 31. Tango 31, 10-7. End of watch, October 20th, 2020. Thank you for your service, Jumper. God bless.
The funeral procession stretched 7 miles, just an amazing sign of how loved this man was by his co-workers and community members. Many lined the interstate and overpasses, which we'll be showing you through the 6:30 hour. Thanks so much for joining us on the 4 o'clock news. And so many people came out to show their respects and to honor the memory of Sgt Conley Jumper today.
Now, people lined highway overpasses, waving flags. Other drivers pulled over on the side of the road, some even getting out of their cars and stood as that procession went by. It's clear this man was so loved in the upstate, and as Fox Carolina's Margaret Burnquist shows us, it's evident his memory will live on.
A deafening silence inside the Bon Secours Wellness Arena this morning as around 1,000 members of law enforcement honored the man known as a gentle giant. Sheriff Hobart Lewis spoke first about Sgt Conley Jumper, calling him knowledgeable, respectable, sharp, and saying he embodies all the characteristics he looks for in an ideal deputy.
But what made Sgt Jumper unique was his unwavering, loving, and cheerful attitude that couldn't help but rub off on those working alongside of him.
United States Postal Inspector Mike NICHOLSON, who worked closely with Jumper since 2008, said he not only believed in doing things the right way, but he led by example.
His integrity and his professionalism were impeccable.
Jumper was also an integral part of the Greenville County school system, working in the school enforcement and investigation office. Superintendent Dr. BURKE ROYSTER said Jumper did so many things beyond the scope of law enforcement. He presented at career days, talking to and listening to students, becoming a trusted confidant, and so much more.
School administrators, teachers, and students were excited when they knew he was coming to their school. He was trusted, he fit in. That affable way of his won people over.
Pausing several times to hold back tears, Chaplain and fellow Deputy BENNIE DURHAM read from John 15:12, where Christ said there is no greater love than that of a man who would lay down his life for his friends.
Words will never be able to express the relationship we have in the family of blue. When we lose one, we all hurt. And I want you to know there's a big blue family that is around you today.
He said it's a tough day, but they are honoring a tough guy.
He served us well. He went above and beyond. And I want you to know that we'll never forget him.
And it was a really emotional day, as you can imagine. And we should also mention Governor McMaster was inside the well. He presented the family with some flags that have flown over the Capitol down in Columbia.
And the governor ordered flags to fly at half-staff from sunrise to sunset today in Jumper's honor. And we want to show you this video as the procession left the well after the funeral this morning. You could see the hearse right there carrying Sgt Jumper's body being escorted by a line of motorcycles.
And here is a look at the procession. Many of you saw this going down I-385 and then some down I-26. All of the overpasses were lined up with folks waving, having American flags, those thin blue line flags, and of course fire departments holding those American flags as well. And a moment we captured with our Fox Carolina drone, an officer blocking the ramp there in Malden got out of his car and stood at attention, as many officers along with the highway patrol did as well, as folks even pulled off on the opposite side of the interstate to pay their respects.
Yeah, really amazing to see that. People lined bridges showing their support as that procession drove by. Fox Carolina's Grace Runkel spoke to supporters on the Richardson Street Bridge in Simpsonville.
For a brief period this morning, the normally busy 385 was quiet as they made way for Sgt Conley Jumper's final procession. Flags lined the Richardson Street Bridge overpass as Sgt Conley Jumper's miles-long procession drove by. Civilians, military members, and Jumper's brothers in blue waited nearly an hour for the moment. Simpsonville police officer Timmy Williams knew Jumper, and he says the loss is felt throughout the law enforcement community, regardless of the department. He's glad to see so many people come out for Jumper's final salute.
Today, we're going through trying times, and just the support of the people here today is just great. That's pretty much all I can say, is that it's heartwarming.
If you weren't able to make it out this morning and you still want to support the Jumper family, we tell you how to do that on our Fox Carolina News app. Reporting in Simpsonville, Grace Runkel, Fox Carolina News.
And Sgt. Jumper's body arrived in Newberry County about an hour later, where the burial service took place. Sgt. Jumper was given a full honor burial as his wife and daughter looked on. And you can see the horse-drawn caisson bringing his body to the gravesite there, followed by those honor guard members. Canines standing at salute there, their dogs as well, as he made his way to his final resting spot. And our own Carrie Weimer's been following this horrific tragedy in Greenville County. She was there for the graveside service as well.
That's right, Cody. It's a small cemetery here, but law enforcement was so packed in here today that all you could see, as far as you could see, were uniforms and badges. And at times it was so quiet that you could literally hear a pin drop. I remember standing over there and thinking several times, all I could hear was the panting of canine dogs as they were lined up. And then, of course, the distant sound of choppers as they were coming over, as friends and family gathered here today to say their final goodbye. The body of Sgt. Conley Jumper made its way home today to be laid to rest in a family plot.
His grandfather was a former mayor of the town of POMARIA in this community, so it does mean a lot that he's going to come here and lay to rest with his relatives in this community.
His brothers and sisters in blue stood by as the gentle giant they loved was given full honors. Canines and their handlers lined the entranceway into the cemetery to pay their last respects to a fallen brother. The sergeant brought in on a horse-drawn caisson as his wife Sarah and daughter Kat, surrounded by family and friends, watched. Even in the graveside prayer, you could hear the loss of a man people were proud to call a friend.
Thank you, Lord, that you allowed me to have a friend like Jump.
A 21-gun salute. And the final call over the radio made by Sheriff Lewis, who says today was hard, but tomorrow will be even more difficult.
I think, it really begins for us, maybe tomorrow. We get back to work and we'll miss him being on the radio or him working and doing those things. So we got a lot of work to do and a lot of hearts to mend.
Saying goodbye today to their brother and friend. The sound of 8 helicopters, including Greenville County's, flying overhead as those who love Sgt. Jumper go back to pushing that thin blue line.
The thin blue line is not that wide. It's deep, though. It's just deep. And he was our family. So we will take care of them just as we would our family, no matter what.
Now, Sheriff Chuck Wright told me earlier that it doesn't matter how many good things you said about Sgt. Jumper, it's never enough because there was so much more. He said he really was such a good guy. Cody, Tori?
Carrie, thanks so much. And Sgt. Jumper's end of watch was Tuesday afternoon, October 20th.